Welcome back. Sorry about background noise. It's Taiwan. Always construction or garbage trucks or advertising trucks or something going on. Hopefully it's not too bad. Let me turn the fan off because I remember last time it was making quite a bit of a din. So, Boxing Librarian made actually, I don't know, two videos. One that 8 people saw and then he closed it, so I never saw that. And then another one. I'm not going to get into that because I just don't understand where the hostility comes from. I haven't called you names and I didn't really go in. I was expanding on a topic that you brought up and I thought it was an interesting topic. That's all. There was no disagreement per se. You know, like even in what you were saying today, a lot of things I can agree with. And it's your perspective that you feel you don't need video footage. That's fine. But he brought up a good point, and that's why I'm making this video. Not specifically anything to do with you, so don't feel like you need to respond because I left a comment and that's all I need to say. Because I agree, we don't need this back and forth type of immature, childish behavior. And I have no problem having a hangout, but I just don't understand what topic you want to discuss. Because if last time you wanted to discuss Gigi's resume and you said that I was berating somebody in your comment section and leaving 500-word things. Well, anybody who sees my comments knows that I leave many small comments. I don't leave big comments because nobody wants to read a book in a comment section. They want something quick they can digest that has a point that they can respond to. Nobody wants to read a novel. So I never do that. And if somebody was arguing that Gigi's resume was bad and I was commenting, I probably wasn't saying that Gigi's resume was good. I probably was talking about the current situation and what's currently going on, not focused on what hasn't happened. Some people in the YTBC, they tend to be very negative and always focus on the negative, right? And that's just the way it is. They love to focus on this negativity all the time, as opposed to look at the great things that are happening in boxing. And there are. We just had a great weekend of fights. And yeah, it's Al Heyman. Woo! So, I mean, you know, I have no problem with Al Heyman giving us great fights. It's good. I have no problem with Heyman. But I have questions about him. So, you know, I think any intelligent person has questions about many topics. So let's get to the situation that I thought was interesting. So in his video, basically explaining why he blocked me and this and that, like, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. I mean, I just hear other people say it. So then it becomes a topic of conversation. Not that I'm even interested, and I wasn't even aware that you didn't let me join a Facebook thing. But when people then go on my comment page, of obviously trying to like stir shit and cause trouble, this is other people doing that, which is very similar to what you were saying in your comments or your video that I wanted to discuss. In his video, he was basically comparing me to a Nazi and saying that a common thing he noticed after reading Mein Kampf was what racists and bullies tend to do. So obviously I'm a racist and a bully because I bully John because, you know, John never makes video after video after video about me and never is on my comment section. Okay. You know, it's interesting because the topic that you brought up, you said there's a trick, a repeat of a lie trick. You said that is common for racists and bullies to use. Well, I concur. I say this is very common. And this is something John is doing constantly, which is why I make comments about him in his videos, because this is a guy who's made literally over the last 4 months probably 50 videos talking about how Gigi's resume is not good and that he's not pound for pound. So that's what he's doing, this repeat of a lie trick, right? You put out enough videos with the same content, and you see this from many channels in the YTBC. And people start to believe it and think that it's factual, right? So I'm giving you props because this is true, and this is a people should listen to your video so they can just listen to that segment. Because, I mean, we see this in the YTBC a lot. Many channels do this consistently. Coach Sheldon did it a lot when he was making his 25 videos a week hating on GGG. And John is using the same tactic now, trying to discredit GGG and Roman Gonzalez, right? Roman Gonzalez, who Floyd Mayweather just said is #1 pound for pound. Thus putting a cap on a lot of these guys that hate on him. I've never said Roman Gonzalez is #1, but I've defended the point that he could be. That his resume and what he's accomplished over the last few years is as good as anybody else right now. Obviously, other people have better resumes as a whole, but they also have losses. And they haven't been as dominant in the last couple of years as they were previously. Klitschko, Pacquiao. So, what you brought up in there when you were calling me a racist and a bully is true. You can see this consistently, but this is not something I do. I don't use the repeat a lie trick. I make videos commenting on boxing, and a lot of my videos are reactions to other people's videos. Not as a derogatory, but the whole point is this is boxing talk. People have points, people have different opinions. So instead of making tons of comments in the comment section, which sometimes seems pointless, it just makes more sense to make a video. Just getting out there, and if people want to listen to it, they can. And if people want to leave comments discussing it or videos, counteracting it, then they can. Me, I'm the same as you. I was on lots of those panel groups and, where they shout at each other and shout over top of each other. I saw a lot of those debates that people had when they were doing the Lions Den and everything else. And basically the guy who yells the loudest and is the most obnoxious ends up winning a debate. That's never been my interest. I'm not interested in joining a debaters club. Never have, never will. It's not what I'm interested in talking about boxing. Because I understand, in most cases, it's pointless. When you debate, you're not debating to actually get the other person to change their opinion, because that's never going to happen. You're basically just trying to get your information out in an avenue so people who are listening or watching could then choose who they thought made the more valid points. But then, in that sense, usually the people who agree with you, agree with you. The people who agree with the other person, agree with the other person. So it all is basically pointless in the long run anyways. But if people choose to do that, and they like that, and they feed off of that sort of competitive type of atmosphere, which a lot of it is, you noticed like with some guys, they had like a whole panel group and had like a big situation going on, and it was really competitive. People's nature that you know them as normally changed when they were doing that, and then they became very egotistical and competitive and, a little more nasty than you ever thought they were. And that's fine. People are entitled to do whatever they enjoy, and if people enjoy that, that's fine. Personally, though, I prefer more of a panel, just discuss topics and have people go back and forth in normal, friendly sort of manners. Two people, I always think it's not so interesting because then it becomes more of a debate. If you have 3 people, it's a little better. Then you have a little more play. That's why I liked doing the pound for pound show, when you had like 3 or 4 people and it was a nice flow, a nice discussion, and a good group setting, and people could express their opinions on many different topics, and you didn't stay on one topic for a 3-hour video and just sort of bore the audience that was watching. And this isn't directed at anybody. This is just my feelings. I sort of like those shows because they were about an hour and a half, and it focused on many topics. Past fights, upcoming fights, and current events. But the whole point that he mentioned, which is why I'm making this video, is true. I mean, you see this repeat a lie trick all the time. And now that, he brought it up and pointed it out, I would like you guys in the YTBC to look for that in a lot of channels that make videos. And you will see this consistently. Like, you've seen a lot of this towards many people in the YTBC as well. I mean, a lot of people have continuously had this repeat lie trick played on them. People who weren't Floyd Mayweather fans. So what happened is these Floyd Mayweather fans, who were really diehards, fanboys to an extent, just started calling everybody a racist who didn't like Floyd. And then this became the norm. This became the standard that these people were racist because these channels, who are obviously pushing an agenda, right? They're Floyd fans and they support Floyd, push Floyd, and anybody who has anything negative to say, they will attack. So we see their agenda. It's clear. And I'm not saying who, because that's up to you to evaluate who you think these people are. Because, you know, some people are diehard Floyd channels, and a lot of them, like Pull Counter, don't make videos anymore because Floyd is not as relevant. But I expect one to come up soon, talking about how Danny Garcia is a great fight. Not to say it's not a great fight, but you know, I'm just predicting. But this is a true thing, what's the boxing librarian brought up, this repeat a lie trick, and you see it consistently. And this is a lot of the things that I've been saying the whole time. A lot of these channels act like bullies and racists by basically playing this trick and this game, and a lot of them are the biggest channels in the YTBC. We know most of the channels in the YTBC that make videos are black channels. That's just a fact. That's not race. I mean, that's just true. You can go through and you can see all the channels. So their voice is very big on the YTBC, and some of the biggest channels, I think most of the biggest channels, who are the biggest channels? I think they're all black channels. And you can go to different channels and see the different approach that people have. I mean, some of them are very, you know, across the board, straight. Obviously, they have their opinions, but the way they do it, like Hatman, is really good. I mean, you know, I can't criticize him because even when he comes out with like a scathing video about somebody, like the one he did with Eddie Hearn, I mean, it's his opinion, so it's valid. And he's a boxing fan, so he can express his feelings. And usually when he releases videos, he's really straight across the board, fair, and really level-handed in his approach. So when he comes out with a video like that, I mean, you know that he's really feeling it. So that's cool, and I can totally get it, and that's why I think he's very well respected. I think he probably should get more attention than he does because he is one of the more level-handed and less agenda-based big channels in the YTBC. Some of the other channels, which we know, like Dante and Eco and Northwest, I mean, you only need to watch their videos, like 3 or 4 of them, to see that they're trying to push, and this is not a negative thing, I'm just saying this is obviously what they're doing, but a pro-black agenda. And that's cool. They're black, so they can do that. That's fine. But the point is, it's the way they do it. It's not level-handed, and it's not fair in a lot of times. A lot of times it's finger-pointing and derogatory, calling fans who disagree with them derogatory names like decaf and other things, and repeating that again and again and again. So that this becomes, like the boxing librarian said, you know, a repeat a lie trick. You know, talking about coincidentalists and all of this kind of thing, which you try to create this separation because you're creating, you know, this and that. You're like doing it again and again and again in your videos. So, and these are like the biggest channels in the YTBC. You know, the majority of boxing fans at least watch one of those channels. And when you compare those to like Hatman, there's no comparison. Like, you can see the agenda. You can see the biased nature of those 3 channels compared to this other channel. I mean, you know, I don't know if this specifically because those 3 are American and the other one is from the UK. So just from that start, they have a more removed perspective of things as opposed to those guys who are, you know, a lot of people believe that boxing is centered in the United States and everything important is happening there, which is fine. That's one way of looking at it. But you will see this thing that the boxing librarian talks about, this repeat a lie trick again and again and again, consistently. It's like when you're charging Manny Pacquiao with using steroids. I mean, you keep saying it enough, and then it becomes the norm, right? When you do this kind of thing and keep ripping GGG for his resume being weak, but ignoring the whole story behind everything, then this becomes the truth. Then people start to just focus on that. And we see this again and again, and you can see it against Floyd Mayweather as well, when people were calling him a chicken and a cherry picker. I never say he's a cherry picker, but there's fights that throughout his career that I wish he would have taken over other fights. But that's just me being a boxing fan. I can want something else instead of what I'm getting. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but I can do that. This is the part of being a boxing fan. We are the guys going shopping and trying to buy a product. So obviously we want to buy a product that we want to buy. We don't want to specifically buy the product that they're selling. Right. So this is why some people have difference of opinions. This and a million other reasons. But I just wanted to point out that one term, that one concept that he brought up in this video, the repeat a lie trick. And, I appreciate that because, it seems so obvious. But until it's like listed there and put into terms, I mean, it sort of shines the light on what's really going on. So I think everybody should keep their eyes open for that and see the bias behind it. And as he's saying, the bullying and the racism that sort of follows that as well. Thanks for following this video and thanks for listening. Yeah, keep your eyes open.